Thank you for joining us today as we kick off our brand new workshop series dedicated to Habitat for Humanity and peer learning. We've named this workshop series Reaching Goals, and today we'll be focused on fundraising. The idea for this workshop series came out of a recent survey that we surveyed all the Habitat for Humanity affiliates who are using Giveffect. All of them let us know that they're really interested in learning from their peers specific best practices and nuances of raising funds, engaging with the community, and using technology like Giveffect to achieve their goals. So with that, we're excited to start this workshop series. So today's workshop has quite the agenda. Of course, we'll do welcome and introductions. Then we'll hear from three incredible development leaders. Christine Morris, who will be presenting Harmonies for Homes. Melissa Jones will be presenting A Place to Call Home, and Priyanka Singh will be presenting a major collaboration. We'll do Q&A and closing remarks. Please go ahead and submit your questions throughout the workshop, and we've saved time at the end to answer as many as possible. Of course, this is not just a webinar, but a workshop, so we'd love for it to be interactive as much as possible. If anyone is interested in asking their question on video, please be sure to indicate that when you type in your question using the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Additionally, with our three speakers today, if you have any questions that are specific to one of these specific speakers, be sure to indicate that within the Q&A as well. So like I just mentioned, we have three incredible speakers today. We have Christine Morris, who's the Chief Development Officer for Habitat for Humanity of Northwest Metro Atlanta. We have Melissa Jones, who is the Director of Development for Habitat for Humanity Kansas City. And we have Priyanka Singh, Development Officer of Individual Giving for Habitat for Humanity International. Also on the call, we have the Giveffect team. So first off, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tara Peitzer, and I am the Director of Marketing and Communications. And we also have several of my other colleagues here today that will be supporting everyone. So if you have questions in the chat, or you want to send questions through the Q&A, we're here to help out. Many of these faces and names probably are familiar to many of you. So now let's start with the first section, fundraising special events. We know that many affiliates use special events to raise funds. So to learn more about where all of you are, let's go ahead and take a poll. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. So if everyone could take a minute to pop up on your screen, and you'll see that we have two questions, fairly simple. So I'll give you guys just a minute to answer. So the first one is, will you be hosting at least one fundraising event in 2023? And the second is, in what format will you be hosting your 2023 events? I know that this year and the last few years has been quite interesting, especially for events. So, so many of us have had to pivot and move to not just in person or smaller in person, but online and hybrid events. All right, it looks like most of you have participated. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll and share the results with everyone. All right, so really interesting. So majority of you, right, 96% of you will be doing special events. So it will be really interesting to hear what Christine will be sharing, and also that so many more of you will be doing in-person events this year. And I think that's what we're seeing in the industry as a trend. So with that, I'd like to now introduce Christine Morris. Next slide, please. So Christine Morris, of course, is the Chief Development Officer for Habitat for Humanity Northwest Metro Atlanta. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Tara, and hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on today to talk about special events, and in particular, our event And as you can see, obviously, I have some experience in development and fundraising. I've actually been a fundraiser for 9 years. So previously, I was also with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation before Habitat, but I've now been with Habitat Northwest Metro Atlanta for 2 years. And next slide. So the event that I wanted to review today is the only special event that we have for our affiliate, but was new the year that I started. So I started this event, and before that, we previously didn't have any special events at our affiliate. So last year's event, we raised over $108,000, and our goal was to have 250 guests, and we had 237, which was still really good. We decided to go with this event called Harmonies for Homes because when we looked at what the culture of our volunteers and our donors and board was into, and then also what's popular in the area, we wanted something that would fit with our culture, but also set us apart and be unique from all of the other common events for nonprofits in Atlanta. So a lot of nonprofits, I'm sure you see all the time, have a gala or a golf tournament. And so we wanted to do something different than one of those. And also, like I said, something that fits with our culture, which is a little bit more laid back. And probably everyone would agree that Habitat in general, usually we're like a family, and we really know all of our volunteers and our board members really closely and see them almost every day. So we wanted something that would be more casual, at least for our affiliate. Next slide. So the main ways that we were successful with this event were through these methods, making sure that we had really excellent event production, also marketing planning, and then partnering with our board, especially. They brought in the majority of our continued sponsors for the event. And then also helping us reach out to local businesses that would respond well to this. And then in addition to probably 2/3 of the tickets that were sold to sponsors, 1/3 went to individual ticket sales. And then lastly, working with having a flawless system for guests to purchase sponsorships and tickets, and then also for checkout. And I'll answer more questions at the end. Next slide. So the actual play-by-play of how we did the event itself. First of all, like I said, the event production, we really wanted to make sure that the stage, AV, and venue worked well for us. And so the country club that we hosted at, Atlanta Country Club, recommended that we have a concert on the lawn, as they've done a few private events like that before. And we also were connected through them to an event production company called Moon Crush, who has a lot of connections to bigger name artists. And we knew that based on the amount of sponsorship we expected to bring in, that we would then be able to cover the expense of a little bit bigger name artist, and that would be the primary draw aside from the Habitat name for selling tickets and sponsors. So we were able to get, sorry, going back one. Thank you. So we were able to get Edwin McCain, who I'm sure everyone's heard of, and then Emerson Hart, who is the lead singer for the band Tonic, and Mark Broussard, and did it in a bistro lighting casual setting on the lawn, and asked people to bring their own chairs and picnic blankets. So next slide. And so as far as campaign management, like I was saying, we wanted a flawless one-stop shop to really make sure that we could run the sponsorship and ticket sales, track dinner purchases because we were including those with our sponsorships, and then also share sponsor logos on the front-facing web page to ensure they received recognition. So we used Giveffect's fundraising campaign feature for that, the basic model, not the peer-to-peer format, to be able to set this up and put our event flyer as the campaign image. So on the checkout flow, we really wanted to make sure as well that all of the levels were described. So that's going in on the back end within your campaign and making sure you identify individual level prices, what's included with each sponsorship, and then either adding packs of tickets or putting underneath the sponsorship a description of what's included with the sponsorship. Then we wanted to make sure that we went in and mapped all of the donations and sponsorships to the right coding. I'm sure, as all of the development people here know, you don't want your revenue just going into one big bucket and not knowing what it's for or what it came from. So making sure that you go in as well to the data mapping tab in Giveffect and putting where your funding is going. And then also the other feature that we really loved about Giveffect for our event was the event buddy system. So when people bought sponsorships that came with packs of tickets and then also individual tickets, it also showed up under the tickets tab, which would then coordinate with Event Buddy. So Event Buddy is an app you can also add on your phone, or we used iPad's day of event as in that picture for our volunteers to just pull people up either by their ticket number, the last name of the ticket buyer, or by the company name. And then they just click check in and the person is confirmed that they already paid and they're checked in. So as far as the marketing goes, we made sure that we did a couple of big things to get the word out about the event. So starting with, of course, since this was the second year we had this event, we sent a save the date postcard that I designed and mailed through Vistaprint. That this was the design, and sent to all of the previous year's donors and attendees. And we also sent an email to solely our board members with the following text so that they could easily copy and paste a picture of the save the date, the language about the event, who was playing, and a link for people to purchase sponsorships. Then the other thing that we did that was a little special was we wanted to make sure that our presenting sponsor, which we only had one of, Berkshire Homes, really got some special recognition for spending $25,000 to sponsor the event. And so one of the things we also did was go and interview them at their business with a couple of their staff, and then share that video on our website and our social media channels. And then we, of course, emailed our current general habitat donors through our weekly email newsletter a couple of times, sharing the event flyer, the save the date, pictures from the previous year, and links to easily buy everything. And then public marketing, we also did some ads digitally in a local community e-newsletter to over 20,000 subscribers. So I encourage you to look up things like that in your area as well. Ours was called the East Cobber, and it got a lot of visibility, and that's the neighborhood where our venue was. We also did ads and posts on Facebook. This ad on the left was the only one that we did that was a paid ad. And we just did for $100. And you're able to also target the areas that you want to see your ad as far as where they live. So we did that as well. And you want to keep your visual small, otherwise Facebook tags it as possible spam. Then we also did the post on the right, which our social media team was able to design some artist bios with their pictures for me to make it look a little bit more refined. And then making sure to steward your donors. We did this through, for one, during the event, having an intermission in the middle of the concert where we took a break to bring up our CEO and myself to talk about how the event supports our mission, what our mission is, and a recent homeowner video that we could share with everyone. And then after the event, sending an email recap solely to donors and sponsors, and that's the one above with the homeowner information tied in. And then also an email newsletter to everyone telling them what we raised, and making sure that gifts were given to the top sponsors of, we actually went and bought some small picture frames from Target and printed out group photos we took of each sponsor group on the green at the event, and then a handwritten thank you note with that. So overall, our goals, we still felt this was a successful event, even though our total goal was to raise year over year above what we did the first year, which was $121,000 the first year. We didn't reach our goal of 150,000, but we were still well over our expenses. And we had 2 months less time to plan last year because we ended up finding out that the venue is going to have construction going on. So we had to move our event up further in the year than we would have normally. So with those caveats, we did end up still having a net of over $57,000 after expenses and having 237 guests in attendance, of which 2/3 were sponsors. It also raised a lot of awareness for our mission and of our name in the community to help us get additional volunteers, future board members, and connections to other sponsors for builds. So also just to share what our key learnings were that we were going to apply this year. We are, of course, one of those special events still doing an in-person event since it's an outdoor concert. But we're going to start marketing earlier. So we've already started this year sending out communications via email to past sponsors that we've got our venue secured, that we're working on artists, and that we have sponsor levels ready. We're also making sure that we still capitalize on those board relationships because they were our biggest way to sponsors in the past. We moved to a new venue because of the construction issue, and then also that being at a country club, a lot of people felt that it was exclusive to members of the club, which was kind of a weakness for us. So we think that reduced some attendance, and we're moving to a new venue called City Springs. That's a public place at the top of a hill with a permanent stage. So it's a lot bigger and a lot more public. And we're also making sure that the meals and drinks are separate from sponsorships and tickets, and people can buy those on site with food trucks and cash bars instead of making sure that we're including that in what we're doing. So we're not selling dinners at all anymore. And then lastly, using the venue's box office is a requirement for this venue apparently, but that also helps us not be in charge of managing all the individual tickets anymore for check-in, day of event, or last minute purchases. So our staff that day will only be there to take in sponsorships or last minute donations. And that's the end of my presentation. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Christine. That was such an interesting share of a truly special event. All right, so moving on to the next section. And just a reminder, please share your questions that you have for Christine with all the others, as well as the other speakers too, in the Q&A. Just clicking on that little icon at the bottom of your screen to add that in. All right, so moving on to the next section, which is fundraising and individual giving campaign. And individual giving is such an important revenue stream for so many affiliates. So to start off, we're also going to do another poll. All right, let me just launch that real quick for everyone. We'll give you, again, about a minute to respond. So the first is, did you do an individual giving campaign in 2022? And are you planning an individual giving campaign this year as well in 2023? All right, it looks like most of you have answered. Any last takers? All right, I'll go ahead and end the poll for everyone and share the results. So wow, very similar to special events, the majority of you did do an individual giving campaign in 2022 and also are planning, the same number are planning to do it again this year. So great, this is really wonderful heading into Christine's section. So without any further ado, I'll go ahead and pass the mic over to Melissa.
Thank you so much, Tara. I'm so excited to be here today. I've got the opportunity to work with Giveffect over the last 3 years as we've implemented their CRM into our operations here at Habitat for Humanity of Kansas City. I'm the Director of Development and have been with the organization for 5 years. I just celebrated my 5th anniversary yesterday. I have been in the fundraising world for over 10 years, and I'm excited to share a little bit about our individual campaign and the success that we have seen here in Kansas City. Next slide, please. So the campaign that I'm presenting today is our 2022 end of the year campaign called A Place to Call Home. We saw incredible results from this campaign with a 47% increase in revenue, an 8% increase in donors, and a 6% increase in new donors. And so these numbers were something that we could only dream of. And so we're really excited to be able to share what contributed to that success. One thing to note is this campaign ran from October 2021 to February 2022. So how did we do it? We did it with a variety of different ways: email marketing, direct mail, IB targeting, social media, paid and organic, and then Restore checkout. Many affiliates that are on this call probably have restores in their operations. And so we really looked at a way to utilize our Restore customers to support this campaign as well. And that's something that we have continued to do. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Next slide, please. The play-by-play. Play one, messaging. So this was in the past years for our individual giving campaign. We really focused on telling the story from a homeowner perspective. What does affordable housing mean to them? How is becoming a homeowner going to impact their life? Really telling it from that main adult, whoever the homeowner is, that perspective. So with this campaign, we decided to switch the narrative a little bit and focus on the children that it would be impacting and really get down to the nitty-gritty of what this home would mean to them. And we got some really great testimonials from children that were in our pipeline that we were currently building from. So we made sure that we had clear, direct messaging of what a home meant to the children, how many children that were waiting on their Habitat home to be built. So this kiddo here, you can see we were actually in the process of building his home when we did this campaign. And him and his mom, Kayla, have been very dear to my heart. But they had a house that had flooded. They lost all of their belongings several times. They had to share a bed, and there were 5 of them living in a house. So this home was really, really incredibly going to change their life. And so we wanted to share from a kid's perspective. Also, when you look at probably most of us on here, when you hear from a kid, it just touches your heart in a way that another story might not. So play 2, targeted ads. I mentioned a minute ago that we implemented IP targeting. This was the first campaign that we did that. So we worked through a marketing company here in Kansas City called Next Page, and they have the ability to take addresses from our donors and match IP addresses. So what that means is anytime that the person would, we would deliver ads to them based on their IP address. That could be on their mobile device or on their home computer. So if they are logged on to the internet that is connected to their home address, they would then get a targeted ad from us talking about the 50 children that were waiting for Habitat KC homes. Also, when they clicked on that link, it would take them directly to a landing page with a donation form. The donation form, which I think is one of the great features of Giveffect, is embedded into the form. It is very clean. It can take them directly to that so that they're not having to scroll or anything. It's right there. It says you can put an image and the donation form on the same page. It's a very concise way to get the donation without them scrolling through a lot of pages. Play 2, a matching gift. With this campaign, we implemented a matching gift from a major donor that we had, Central Bank of the Midwest. They have a long-time commitment with Habitat KC. And so we went to them and said, okay, out of your very large commitment, can we take $50,000 and use it for a matching gift for this? That $50,000 was not meant to be paid out for about a year, but with this campaign, it allowed us to get that $50,000 earlier if we claimed that match. We have had great success with the matching gift, people calling and saying, oh, I want to double my donation. Can I make a gift now? It really allows people to, it makes donors feel like they're doubling their impact of Habitat KC with their gift when you have a matching gift. Email marketing. We increased our email send a lot on this. We are pretty conservative here at Habitat KC when it comes to email marketing. We don't want to be overwhelming to our donors or our volunteers, and we want to make sure that we're only giving them what they want to hear. But with this campaign, we really felt it was important to over communicate with them so that they knew exactly what was happening, how they could benefit, how they could support it, and who they were supporting. I was recently working with a company and they gave us great advice. Don't be good at email, be great. And so if that means investing in your email marketing, pulling in outside resources to really review and look at how you're doing it with drip campaigns and segmenting, please invest in that. Also have clear, direct communication. Cut the fluff and tell the donor and the audience exactly what they need. When you have a button, you don't need to make it anything fancy, just donate today. Tell them the urgency behind why you need their donation. You can help 50 children, just like Kaylin, the foundation, create the foundation they need by donating today. A gift of $200 or more will be matched to double your impact. This helps give Kansas City children their best shot at a bright future. So just be direct and to the point. You don't need to add a lot to it because that tells everything that they need to know. Next slide. So Giveffect is a great resource when it comes to segmenting emails. If you are a current Giveffect customer, you probably already know this. If you're not and you're looking at a way to increase your email segments, this is a great way. You can pull in previous year donations, lifetime donations, year-to-date completed volunteer hours. There's a whole group of different segments that you can pull in and variables that you can pull in. It pulls directly from your audience's profile, so it's very clean and reliable data. We segmented this campaign into donors, lapsed donors, volunteers, and restore donors. This way we could talk exactly to that audience and say, recognize you gave a gift last year, or we haven't heard from you for 2 years. Your last gift of $25 really meant a lot to us. Can we get you to renew? Or you've donated 100 hours on our construction sites. Would you like to take the next step and also make a financial donation? And the same thing with our restore donors. Our restore donors is the newest pipeline that we have really worked on building out and collecting data from them. And we've had pretty good success on converting restore donors, which would be material items to our restores, to financial donors as well. This campaign also included direct mail. And so we sent a direct mail at the beginning of the campaign. One thing I want to note on the timing of this campaign from October to the end to February is typically we send our direct mail mid-October. This year, the year that this happened, there happened to be a major election. So that's something to keep in mind. If there's something going on in your community that would have a lot of spam mail in your community's mailboxes, maybe you push it. So this one we actually pushed and had it hit mailboxes directly after the major election. So they weren't also having to weed through all the campaign mail that they were getting from the election as well. After this direct mail hit, then about 2 weeks before the end of the year, we also sent a direct mail postcard in the mail, a very easy, it's low cost postcard, just reminding our donors who hadn't gave yet that the end of the year was quickly approaching, and if they wanted to take advantage of their tax benefit to get the gift in before the end of the year. This is a comprehensive campaign. And so when I say that, I mean, it starts with this campaign, but then we continue to run it throughout all of 2022. The messaging might change a little bit, but we keep the theme the same, a place to call home. We keep design elements the same, so it makes it feel like it's just an extension of the campaign instead of making a hard switch. Prior to this, we were making hard switches. We would do this campaign, it would end in February. We would do a spring campaign that was maybe not connected to this at all. It had a completely different look, message, everything. But what we have found is if we can have an overarching theme and messaging and then have campaigns that fall into that, it works a little bit. Works a little bit better. Also, it allows you to recycle some of the resources that you've already created, graphics, social posts. You just repackage them a little bit and tell the story in a little bit different way, but you don't have to create a whole new campaign with graphics and design elements. So with this campaign, our goal was 200,000 and we achieved over 250,000, which was a 47% increase for us for the previous year. We also increased our donors 8%. And our social media reach had a 54% increase in impressions. And so we really did we did paid media, we did a lot of organic media. Throughout the year, we are constantly gauging what our posts that our audience are reacting well to. And when we see those, if it's a staff highlight, if it's a kid highlight, if it's a video, then we make sure that that's what we're adding into this campaign so we can hit maximum reach with our social media. Our social media, we do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I will say I am a huge fan of LinkedIn for social. A lot of our audience are working professionals, they're in the business community, and so showing the need for affordable housing on your LinkedIn has been a really great success and something that I would highly encourage. So that's our campaign in a nutshell. And so key learnings that we will apply in the future. We definitely will be looking at how to increase revenue and donors. This campaign was something that we would have never guessed would have had the success just because we were coming off a pandemic and we honestly didn't know what our donor pool was going to look like. We have recently just got done working with an outside company to survey donors and volunteers to learn what messaging resonates with them the most. And for my fellow Habitat affiliates on here, I can tell you that there's two things. One, they want to know about how we're transforming neighborhoods. They actually ranked hearing homeowner stories at the least valuable to them, but they want to know large-scale transformation. And two, the messaging that resonates with them the most is that knowing that Habitat KC is providing a permanent solution to these families. It's not a temporary fix, but affordable housing in the sense of Habitat is permanent. And so making sure that we include that in our messaging going forward will be very key. And then just starting the campaign earlier. Like I said, this one started a little bit late because of a major election, but we want to, this year, our goal is to hopefully start getting direct mail inboxes at the beginning of October. So that is a place to call home in a nutshell, and I look forward to answering any questions that you would have at the end of this workshop.
Thank you so much, Melissa. What an incredible and exciting and successful campaign that was. So thank you again for sharing with us. All right. So next up, we do have fundraising with major gifts. For any affiliate, major gifts can be a part of your fundraising strategy. I know it may seem more overwhelming than some of the other ways you can fundraise, but Priyanka will share a little bit about how she can also help support many affiliates as well as many of her colleagues support as well. So before I turn it over to Priyanka, I'm just going to share another poll here, learn a little bit more about everyone else's plan as far as major gifts. So we'd like for you to share with us, do you currently have a major gifts program? Great. It looks like majority have answered. We'll give you just another 30 seconds or so. All right. It looks like the responses have slowed, so I'll go ahead and end the poll now and share the results. So it looks like only less than half of you, 41%, currently have a major gifts program. So hopefully after you hear about Priyanka, you can learn a bit more about how you can also have one. So with that, I'll turn that over to you.
Thanks so much, Tara. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity from hearing from you all, to be able to share with you all, and then also to learn from you all. I learned a lot from Christine and Melissa, and I just wanted to give them another round of applause for their wins this year. I can't wait to hear more about them. And it's also nice to see some familiar faces of some of the local offices that I've already worked with. Hi, everyone. My name is Priyanka. I am a major gift officer of individual giving here at Habitat International. I come from a background of higher education fundraising, and I was drawn to Habitat because of the mission. I myself was a child who experienced housing insecurity and know firsthand the importance that housing can make in someone's life. And I'm super happy to now be working with amazing donors, collaborating with incredible partners like you all at the local level and international level. So let's go ahead and jump in and talk about some major gifts. I know that some of you mentioned that you do have a program. Some of you don't have a major gift program. I thought that today we could talk a little bit about some of the wins that I've had collaboratively with local offices, and also share some resources. Maybe these resources will help you, and if not, then we can just spread awareness of the collaborations that are happening across our teams. So the first thing that I want to share today is actually, if we go back one slide, we're going to talk about a big win that we had, and it'll basically tell you that it builds a story of major gifts does take time. This gift that we're going to talk about soon actually took about 6 years in the making, and it didn't take one person, it took multiple people. I think that major gifts is a great area for collaboration. If we're really trying to be donor centric, there are donors who really want to be active with local and international, and being collaborative with our local partners as well as other programs really helps us feed what the donor wants, and also make sure that we're feeding the parts of Habitat that need to be fed. We also wanted to share today some of the support that's offered through some of our networks, so that you all know what's available to you all. These are some of the resources that I've used that have helped me in my time with major gifts through the time that I've been here at Habitat. Hopefully they can help you. So if we go to the next slide, you'll be able to see that we do have a My Habitat, where you can go ahead and log on to see some great resources through our resource development expertise hub. If you go to our knowledge center, that can really help you out with building your major gift program, or just help you out with different parts of the fundraising cycle in any area of fundraising if you really feel like you would like those resources. On the next slide, we have one of the biggest things that I know that fundraisers who have been here for either 5 minutes or 5 years, we all use, is the fundraising cycle. And this RDEH hub helps you with each part of that cycle and helps you in different areas of fundraising, so that you can have resources available to you. This is how this fundraising cycle is how we got to this incredible joint collaboration. On the next slide, you can see one great gift that came in that we'll be talking about and how that actually happened. So we're going to be talking about a joint collaboration that brought in $505,000, including a one-time extraordinary gift for 2023 to a small to mid-sized affiliate. It also included a community challenge match program of about $250,000, bringing the entire total, once everything is said and done, hopefully to be around $755,000. Breaking the gift down, the portions were $125,000 to Habitat International, $125,000 to the local affiliate, and $255,000 to the local affiliate directly, so that they could purchase land to then build on and really become a transformational gift from a foundation to the local affiliate as well as Habitat International. Now, if we move on to the next slide, we can really see a little bit more of the key players that are working here. The two key players were obviously our small to mid-size affiliate, who worked tirelessly for so long to make sure that they got the information to have a land acquisition become possible. Just to get an idea of what their production is like, they had 1 home dedication in 2021 and 3 home dedications in 2022. The second key player was a donor who gave to Habitat International initially years ago, and they expressed interest to local. A relationship manager or a major gift officer ahead of me had actually started building a relationship with both the local office and the foundation that created a joint proposal that came along that started the long relationship that ended up with this $505,000 gift this past year. So if we go ahead to the next slide, we'll see some key parts of how we did it. There was a joint proposal, as I mentioned, with HFHI and local affiliate years ago that brought in the interest of local and international together with a foundation that had interest in both areas. We experienced some personnel change that I'll talk about, and we really shared ideas throughout the entire process so that we could come up with this new proposal that helps benefit the community and bring in more land to build more homes to offer more families a safe and affordable place to live. So now the play-by-play. As I mentioned, the Habitat for Humanity gift officer had started this relationship years ago. And what we're trying to do here is build strong relationships and trust with both areas so that we can find the donor's interest and really be able to feed it. Going on to the next slide. The next part of this is really cultivating and listening to what each party needs. Throughout listening to what the area office needed, throughout listening to what the donor was interested in, we were able to build that joint connection years ago and align those interests. Through this cultivation and listening, we ended up having to go through a personnel change because the amazing individual, some of you may be familiar with her, Beth Keller, she was able to build that strong relationship and was passing on the relationship to me as a new major gift officer in the area about a year ago. Through communicating, we were able to seamlessly bring that relationship from her end to my end, and now start to build a new proposal, which we'll see on the next slide. This new proposal eventually was developed through my listening and keeping notes of both what the affiliate needed again and what the foundation was interested in. What ended up happening was I heard that the affiliate had some land that they were interested in purchasing and were finding creative ways to fund it. I then thought of a donor who might be interested in funding this specific effort, listened to what they would like. I initially thought that some of the pulling factors for the donor to fund this land might be naming rights for the land, and realized through my relationship building that this might not have been as much of an interest to them as a matching opportunity, a matching gift opportunity would be. So eventually in creating this proposal, I found that the challenge match would work better with the donor and would appeal to their interests more. Then connected with the affiliate to see, is this in your scope? How do you think this can fit with your work? I know you guys are bombarded with so much that you have going on right now. Do you think in the next coming years, if we do fund the land and phrase it as a challenge match, that you would be able to hold this campaign? Eventually, we came to an agreement that it was definitely possible. We made the plan and we sent the proposal. Now in play 4, we ended up getting the funds, which was an amazing transformational gift for the affiliate and for Habitat International, and we were so proud of it. Then you start the stewardship cycle, and you have to make sure that once the funds are received, you're sending that thank you, you're getting in touch, you're making sure the affiliate is connected with the donor as well, and making sure that we move on to the next step, which in play 5, we'll talk about sharing our progress. So it's really important that we have an agreement between us two to make sure that we're updating the donor with whatever updates they're interested in receiving, whether they want to be there for the groundbreaking ceremony, if they'd like to be there for home dedications, what is the timeline for purchasing the land, and making sure that the donor is involved in any way that they would like. And so from there, we're really in sharing the progress as of right now, and we're initiating that challenge match campaign that will happen in 2024 to 2025. And finally, we're going to make sure that we continue these relationships. I myself will make sure we continue creating those strong relationships with more donors so that we can bring them to whatever local area they're interested in funding, as well as finding their interest in international efforts, and also making sure that we're being creative for years to come, where it doesn't stop here, but we continue that relationship with both local and the donor to make sure that, you know, they can come back and fund a different area in case there isn't a land proposal next year that they'd be able to fund. And so our key takeaways here are that major gifts does take time. But we do our best to make sure that we prepare for some of the things that might happen over time, whether that be personnel change like we went through. We had to pivot because of that and make sure that we had great note keeping and that we had made those introductions ahead of time. We also wanted to share that the information is accessible to all and all levels. So hopefully you use My Habitat and then our DEH Hub. It's really great. I've used the Knowledge Center myself and I love it. And then just sharing that collaboration does work on all levels. It's happening with small affiliates, it's happening with mid-size, it's happening with large ones. We can't wait to see what else is possible, especially when we keep mission at the focus. I know that we can make all things possible. So thanks so much for letting me share, and I look forward to hearing from you all if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Priyanka. Such incredible case study and major gift success. So now we'll move on to the Q&A. I know many of you have already shared some questions in both the chat and using the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. So just a quick reminder, if anyone does want to ask their question on video and have a little bit more of a discussion, please do raise your hand or let us know by typing that in your question in the Q&A with the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. But I'll just start reading the questions here to the speakers. So speakers will turn your video cameras on again. Wonderful. All right. So this first one here is for Christine Morris. What were the major expenses that dropped your bottom in the, excuse me. What were the major expenses that dropped your bottom in half?
Sure. So of course, I would say ours were a little higher than you would typically want for a first or second time event. But it was something that we wanted because of the caliber of artists we wanted to bring in. So the artists were the most expensive piece. That was $21,000 that we spent solely to reserve Edwin McCain, Emerson Hart, and Mark Broussard. And then we also paid about $13,000 for the venue, but that included the food and beverage, and $6,000 for the stage and AV. So those were the major expenses.
Thanks for sharing that. I know different aspects of event planning can really add up, but it's so wonderful that the amount you were able to raise was so much more than the expenses. So I think that's important to be mindful of your expenses when you're first heading into a special event. Let's see. Oh, the next one is also from Christine. Was there a portion of the program that told the Habitat story, the need and the successes?
Yes, so we made sure before the actual music started that our CEO and board chairman got up and gave a few minutes welcome to everyone and mentioned, you know, the reason again you're here is to raise money for Habitat's mission to build more homes for people in need. And then we also did a 15-minute intermission where people could, you know, get up to use the restroom or whatever. But that was when we chose to talk more about the mission in depth and show a video of a current homeowner and their story.
Really interesting timing to add in some multimedia and some planned content to really tie a concert back to your mission. So I like that. All right, so next we have a question for Melissa. Was the $250K raised just during the campaign or throughout 2022?
Sure. So that was just raised during the campaign from October to February.
All right. Another one here for Melissa. Could you please explain the Restore checkout?
Sure. So what we do at our restores when we have a campaign like this going on is we call it Restore Roundup. So when they go to check out at the restore, we ask them if they want to round up to the nearest dollar or add a donation onto their purchase to support Habitat's mission. It has become something very successful that we run almost all year. We take off like maybe 3 months out of the year, but we directly tie it to something that is a very easy ask for our cashiers. So if it's during a time for this campaign, would you like to round up to support homes for 50 children here in Kansas City. Or if it's during Veterans Build, would you like to round up to support home repair, critical home repair for veterans in our Kansas City community? Something very simple. It doesn't take more time at checkout. It's something that the customer can easily digest and they can add on. A lot of times we have people who say, yeah, I would like to do that. Add $10 on into it. Or one time we had a customer 2 months ago that said, yeah, actually add $200 onto my total. So you never know what you're going to get because you don't know who your customers are.
I think that's really true. Thanks so much. All right, so this one is open to all three of you. What are some of the best practices for smaller affiliates to work with boards who are not as comfortable at aiding in fundraising?
I can answer. One thing that we do is we just ask our board members to make introductions. They don't have to do the ask. That's why I work here. They don't have to do the heavy lift, but if you know somebody, just make an email introduction and I can take it from there and say, you want to meet and we can talk about it. If the board member wants to come along, great. If they don't want to, that's also fine. But for us, it's really that intro. It's getting a warm handoff that really makes all the difference in the world, instead of having to cold call somebody.
Same for me. I would say the warm introduction is so much better than a cold call, and that's what made the big difference for our concert as well. And I would say too, getting creative with ways to make the introduction. We also made sure that we were asking them to invite these potential donors or sponsors to a home dedication.
Wonderful. All right, the next question. What's the best way to establish a thriving individual donor monthly giving program? And this,
well, I can answer since I talked about individual giving. Yeah. I will say that I wouldn't say that we have a thriving monthly donor program. Of course, we have like a good pool of monthly donors, but what we see with our donor database is that a lot of them are older, so they would rather, instead of giving each month, they pull from their IRAs, so that looks different for them. So I think that I know that like monthly giving is a hot topic that everybody thinks that you have to have, but just know what your donor database looks like and what your donors want. They might not be the greatest fit for a monthly donor program.
Something to think about too, and this is just coming from the Giveffect perspective, is as part of our checkout flow, you can add on just a little option to turn your gift, instead of a one-time gift, make it monthly. And you can also pledge. So even adding just that little option to your checkout flow may help you increase your monthly giving without even having to put too much work into it. So just something to think about. Great. So next we have a question here. How do you start the conversation about giving from an organization that has no history with Habitat? Any takers? Well, let me ask the question a little bit differently. I think Priyanka could maybe provide a unique perspective. When you're first working with a high net worth individual or foundation, how do you first start that conversation when they maybe express some interest, but you want to grow that interest?
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. A lot of the time it starts with, how did you even hear about us? What got you into Habitat? And if you have had any relationship with Habitat, whether you just heard about us once, what was that like? Because a lot of the time our brand really precedes us. And as soon as they mention how they heard about Habitat, maybe it was from their church, or they heard of someone going to a build, or they went to a build, you take that and you really build the conversation on that. I also like to hear about what other philanthropic interests they have, because then that can educate us in what direction we can take with them because of their other interests outside of what Habitat may be.
Great, thank you. I think that is really helpful perspective. So we only have 3 minutes left, so we may just get 1 or 2 questions in before we wrap up the main portion of our Q&A. So let's just go with here. This one I think affects a lot of nonprofits. So our biggest challenge to creating consistent and effective fundraising has been staff turnover. Do you have any advice for overcoming staff turnover?
So I'll chime in and say, document everything. I think that's the biggest thing that we probably have all encountered at some point, where you are the person coming into the role and realize that nothing was documented, or it's all on paper and you've got to move it to electronic means. So I'm really diligent then about going in and documenting meetings, or like Priyanka was talking about, desires for future giving or things like that, that we might need to know.
I appreciate you sharing that, Christine, because I mean, in my situation that we shared, we had some turnover that led to, having to take over a relationship. And with the documentation, that's the biggest part of it, going into CRM or whatever database you have your information and making sure that it's in there. We like to say if it's not in CRM or if it's not written down, it never happened. So living by that really helps us a whole great deal.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much. I know we have just 1 minute left of the scheduled time. And so with that, I just want to share that our next workshop is on reaching volunteering goals. We'll also have a great panel, actually colleagues of Melissa and Christine, who will be speaking about some best practices in their experience, and some great wins when it comes to volunteering. So please join. My colleague Yulia did share the link to register within the chat. So we hope you will join or share the link with a colleague who may find it relevant. Also, if any of you are interested in learning more about Giveffect, my colleague Yulia will be doing just a short 15-minute mini demo right after this. So please feel free to stay on and learn a little bit about Giveffect. We're a 10-in-1 nonprofit software solution. Also, if you're still interested in Giveffect, but you don't have time right now, we totally understand. So feel free to visit our website and you can schedule a demo or a quick chat when it works best with your schedule. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining, and also very much want to thank our speakers who did an amazing job today. So keep up the great work. And with that, we'll turn the conversation over now to Yulia, who will share a little bit more about Giveffect. So thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. Once again, thank you so much for joining today's workshop. It was such a great pleasure for us to be a part of this peer-to-peer learning experience. And as Tara mentioned, for anyone who is interested to learn a little bit more about Giveffect, just in about 30 seconds, I will provide a very brief overview. So this is complimentary. If you want to stay on and take a look at Giveffect, please do so, and we'll start in about 30 seconds. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yulia, and I'm a head of operations strategy here in Giveffect. And we want to take this opportunity and provide you with a brief introduction of Giveffect for those of you who might not be familiar. So I wanted to just give you a 10-15 minutes overview, and if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we're going to start. All right, so to start off, I just want to take a few minutes to show you Giveffect and what we have to offer for nonprofits we work with. But before we jump into it, I just wanted to mention that overall, there's a really strong case for digital transformation and having one system for your organization. Typically, systems with unified organization with unified systems are 2 times more likely to achieve fundraising goals, 4 times likely to achieve mission goals. And based on our own survey of more than 700 nonprofit users who are using our Giveffect platform, they're saying that they're saving 30 to 40 hours a month, not doing manual data entry. So with that, if we are having a lot of manual processes, lack of visibility, or siloed systems, a lot of time it's very hard to achieve your goals. And it results in decreased fundraising revenue, low efficiency, and high turnover that some of you mentioned in your questions in today's workshops. So Giveffect was created to address these challenges and to help nonprofits to overcome them. And we were very lucky to work with a lot of Habitat affiliates over the years from the very beginning of our company. So how we address those challenges is by building one-stop shop 10-in-1 system, 10-in-1 nonprofit software developed specifically to address needs of nonprofits. And as I mentioned, we were working with Habitat affiliates almost 10 years now. So there are specific features that built for Habitat affiliates. But what is 10-in-1 system? Of course, we start with online giving. It's relationship database, events and fundraising that we specifically talked today about. The campaign that both Christine and Melissa presented, they were created in Giveffect. Aside from that, we have full volunteer management system, and a lot of our Habitat affiliate partners are utilizing for both managing volunteer shifts, job assignments for constructions, as well as to address restore operational needs. Aside from that, we have nonprofit management, which it helps you to be 100% paperless and have all the documentation uploaded into your database, and where you can forget about ever entering information from that PDF into your system. Membership management, email and marketing system that was referenced in Melissa's presentation, so the ability to send email, text messages through Giveffect, and directly pulling information about your donors and volunteers from database. How many hours they supported your organization for the past year, when was and how much was the last gift, and so on. All of that is available at your disposal to utilize in the communications and have more direct messaging. We also have grant management, moves management pipeline, website web hosting, and smart automation. So smart automation is our proprietary technology that helps all of the systems speak to each other. Anytime supporter come to the website, whether they donate, participate in the event, sign up for volunteer assignment, all of their information will be automatically, once they enter it online, all of that information will automatically go to Giveffect database. So it really helps to minimize the amount of manual work. There is no downloads, uploads from one system to another, and it helps to come up with very precise reporting, not from just giving standpoint, but from volunteering history, giving history, campaigns, and so on. And to give you a little bit of perspective, typically when nonprofits come to Giveffect, they replace on average 3 to 8 different systems. So some of them mentioned here on the right side, it's not all the system we replace, but just to give you in perspective what kind of software Giveffect replaces. So let's take a look at some of the features that we offer within Giveffect, and I'll show you a couple of examples of our Habitat for Humanity partners as well. So let's start with giving tools. Giving tools were designed in Giveffect to securely accept all types of gifts and cultivate relationships. So whether you're one-time donation, recurring gifts, pledges, offline donation, if you want to make sure that all in-kind donations properly tracked in the system, we support all of that, including invoices. And just to give you a quick example of how the donation checkout flow looks with Giveffect, here's the example of one of our partners, Habitat for Humanity of East Central Ohio. As you can see here, they offer one-time, monthly options or pledges. All of this is customizable, and this form can be as short or as long as needed. All the tiers are customizable. There is an ability to provide description or not, and add specific question maybe you want to ask, as well as option to do it in honor of or in memory of. Aside from Giving Tool, Giveffect has a full events and fundraising suite. So any idea for your fundraising can be put in practice with Giveffect. So from simple donation campaign to ticketed fundraising campaign, like a concert that were presented by Christine, to auctions, RSVP campaigns, peer-to-peer fundraising, and third-party fundraising. Giveffect support any and all of your fundraising ideas. So to give you a couple of examples, as we speak right now, one of our clients, Habitat for Humanity of Greater Palm Beach County, preparing for the events that will take place on February 25th. So over here, you can see that it's RSVP. It's actually a free event, but if needed, you can put a price on the ticket as well. And they have a sponsorship information and tiers here, and they're going to have a live auction at the event. So there's ability for their supporters to register for a bid, and they have all of their wonderful auction items here on the campaign page as well. So the supporters can start browsing and bidding on the items ahead of time. Aside from that, another example of fundraising campaign possible with Giveffect is peer-to-peer or team fundraising. So same organization, they have Women Build 2023 coming up in March. You can see they have a very big goal to achieve. 26 teams already registered, and they have a couple more weeks to achieve their goal. So in this campaign, we can see that supporters can come donate, they can register their own team or participate as individuals. And of course, there's always a sponsorship button. As we scroll down, we'll see all the sponsorship information and all the teams that are fundraising for this campaign. You have an option to join this team. Again, captains can create their own team, and each team has their own page. So if I click on it, we can see just in a second, team page, a message, why they're supporting this campaign, what are their goals, and of course, again, we can, if I'm a donor, I can come here, I can donate, I can sponsor this team, or I can join this team if necessary. Another option is RSVP campaigns with Giveffect, and we see a lot of time our partners will use it for application seminar. You can use it for online or in-person workshops and classes. There's really a lot of different options possible. But what I wanted to point out here is once anyone comes to any of these campaigns, donates, sign up, RSVP, all of that information will always flow back to Giveffect seamlessly, and it doesn't require any manual work. And just to show you how it all appears in Giveffect, sorry, I'm gonna take a quick look at constituent profile. So of course, we're gonna have their demographic information, any groups they're part of. If this person is a volunteer, we'll have his volunteer application information as well. And as I scroll down, we can really take a look in details of all of their history and interactions with our organizations. We can take a look at given history, all the donations. We can take a look at volunteering history and all the assignments, including sweat equity credits. We can take a look at any campaigns they participated, bought a ticket to, or bid an auction item, interactions, household, DAV, well screening, and so on. And none of this information was entered manually. All that information, again, flow to the back to the system automatically once the supporter take any type of the action on our website. Aside from fundraising, just a couple words about our volunteer management system, which is so important for many affiliates. With Giveffect, we have a full volunteer management suite, anything from customized volunteer application. Here's an example of rather detailed volunteer application, but just to show you capabilities. You can ask backgrounds, different experience, skills, interests. You can, of course, inquire availability of your volunteers and maybe how many hours they want to pledge. Any additional details like allergies, dietary restriction, and you can add as many questions as you would like. The great thing about it, again, once it's all completed, all this information goes automatically back to your supporter profile. It will be all available with volunteer application, and any additional questions also will be within the profile, and then you can query, track, run reports, and have all the information in one place. For your volunteers, there's a couple of options for signing up. One option is having online calendar. This is an example of Habitat for Humanity of Kansas City. You can see they have all the information, location, date, time, and age restriction, and if necessary. Supporters can, of course, go ahead and sign up, or if all the spots already have been taken, they can join the waitlist. Aside from calendar, there is also unlimited number of volunteer campaigns that our clients can create. It can be a general campaign, or it can be a campaign for a specific event, build, and so on. So we're already on time. It's 2:15, and I truly appreciate you staying with me and going through this mini demonstration. I wanted to point out that if you would like to learn more about Giveffect, we have a page specifically dedicated for Habitat for Humanity, where you can also listen to some of our clients' interviews, take a closer look at features loved by other Habitat affiliates, and if you're interested in taking a closer look for your affiliate, please feel free to click book a demo or try it now. We have 14-day trials, no credit card required, no commitment, where you can get into the system, try it for yourself, and see if it will be suiting your affiliate needs. Thank you so much for staying with me. And
Julia, we actually have 2 questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sharing my screen and absolutely missed that part. Thank you for letting me know.
Of course, of course. So the 2 questions coming in from Dan, and he's asking first, is it easy to migrate historical information from other platforms?
Yes, thank you so much, Dan. That's definitely a great question. We do have in our data migration team in-house, where our team is very experienced with migrating data from pretty much, I think at this point, any legacy software and system out there. So depending on the tier, a lot of time data migration is included. So our team will be able to take your data, especially if you have it from multiple sources, analyze the data and migrate it in Giveffect. So absolutely.
Wonderful. And the second question from Dan is, can you keep track of volunteer waivers on your software?
Yes, absolutely. Then another great question. With Giveffect, you're not limited to one waiver. You can have one standard waiver for everyone, or you can create a different waivers for different campaign or opportunities. And of course, we do have a minor waiver liability as well. And if a volunteer is below 18 years old, you can require parental consent and minor waiver liability.
Wonderful. Yeah, we can do so many different things with forms and waivers.
Yeah.
Even, for example, with if specialized skills are needed for specific volunteer opportunities, you can actually restrict who applies to take on that role using a couple different techniques, including password protecting it so that only specific people have access to sign up for those roles.
And one last thing about waivers to add to that, in Giveffect, you can there's a timestamp, right, where a checkbox for volunteers to agree to all the terms, and it will be timestamped, and of course you will have it on file, but also there is ability to collect digital signatures as well. And of course, all of that information will automatically go into Giveffect database and will be stored within each volunteer's constituent profile.
Wonderful. Dan says thanks. And yes, thank you, Yulia. Does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask now? If not, of course, again, you can reach out to us either by email. Yulia's email is just yulia@giveffect.com. And then additionally, you can go to book a demo and schedule some time with our team.
And I'll just put my email in the chat as well. I mean, there's so much within Giveffect, but also I know that every affiliate have their own needs. So if you'd like just to have a strategy session and just see if this is something that might suit your needs, we'll be more than happy myself, or we have a wonderful team of nonprofit solution consultants who will be happy to assist, have a strategy session and just see if there's any fit.
Great. All right, so I guess we'll close things down now. Again, thank you everyone for joining, and we look forward to seeing you on our next workshop on volunteering. And then also, of course, to speak with you maybe more one-on-one in a future demo or a consultative call. So have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.